Thank you, WNBA, of which I'm a very new member. Very gratified to be here. Not children's books. My Inflatable Friend, Rubber Babes. Fear not, this is about sexual politics, hopefully. You'll have to read them to see why, though. And this is from the third misadventure. In the first two books, Rollo has masterminded a plot with a life-sized rubber doll made in the image of a famous soap star, Monica LaMonica. His former boss, crusty Hugo Farnsworth, has developed a passionate fascination for the doll. He is currently entertaining her as his sole guest aboard his private yacht, Shameless Palms, which is anchored at Saint-Tropez. Meanwhile, Rollo has also fled to France to avoid being arrested for a money laundering scam he didn't do. Farnsworth secretly summons Rollo to the boat and pleads for his help. We had a quarrel, old Farnsworth sighed. As we often did now and again, keep things interesting, my view, but it was one of those do I look fat in this dress kind of tiffs. The kind a man just can't win. I went ashore to cool off, knocked back a few whiskeys at the local establishment, and when I came back on board, she disappeared. I tried to sound reassuring, as if celebrity look-alike dummies go missing every day. It was a thief. She was a valuable work of art, a celebrity in her own right. I reflected a moment. Tabloids, that's it. Of course, it's just the kind of stunt they'd pull. Someone sniffed it out, discovered she, and I had to be careful here, isn't real. You have to admit it's a hell of a story. I'd do anything to get her back. I just wish I could take back those things I said. Let's just not go there, I thought. And I suppose you didn't inform the police. Are you kidding? He almost chuckled. If perchance the paparazzi weren't involved, well, that would most assuredly blow the lid off. He looked at me soulfully. For the first time in the years I'd known him, he didn't regard me as an underling, as an object of scorn, but as a kindred male, a directionless libido in search of a cause, a jouster at windmills, a rescuer of damsels. Please help me, Rollo, he said simply, as he rested his gnarled hand on my knee. Did he suspect me? He knew I was no poker player, so in the first few minutes after our meeting on his yacht, surely he would have known I hadn't done it. He probably thinks I'm able to guess who did it, and that I have as much reason as he does to keep a low profile. But if he hadn't been the victim of the doll napping, he'd be the first I'd suspect of stealing her. Of all the players in our little soap opera, Hugo was the only one who really lusted after the doll. Oh, he could do an amateur job of pretending to steal her, perhaps for some kind of role-playing pleasure, but having done the deed, he'd have no reason to brag about it, much less profit from it. Who on earth would care? I might not be the best judge of character, but I was pretty sure he hadn't stolen the thing from himself, for himself, which is not as silly as it sounds. The doll is a one-of-a-kind collectible, expertly crafted in the image of a famous star, with a face molded from a genuine life mask that seems to have gone missing after the doll maker completed the custom order. Remember, Hugo, or some broker, had paid a pretty price for her at auction in Los Angeles after the feds dug her up from Forest Lawn, where we'd staged a public burial so the real Monica could get out of show business. He might have had the doll insured. If he'd been paranoid about people wanting to steal her, his instincts about getting her insured apparently proved correct. Although I couldn't rule out insurance fraud, Hugo didn't seem to need the money. He didn't seem to care much about money at all. As long as he had her and that sleek little boat, he had the two little things in the world he cherished most. And then consider his demented rant about their having had words right before her disappearance. His telling of the story was too heartrending not to be genuine, even if the inciting incident was totally delusional. If they did have a disagreement, all in his mind, you understand, were she flesh and blood, it wouldn't take Hercule Poirot long to guess what happened. Zut alors, fearing divorce and scandal, the old bastard did away with her. Except that, valuable as the doll might be in the market of adult novelties, she has no life to take, no rights to defend. If Hugo were irrevocably angry with her, or just downright bored, or if he suspected her of cheating with some hopelessly desperate stevedore, he could simply dump her over the side. And quite legally. Or maybe not. Is she hazardous waste? You can't throw so much as a plastic spoon off a cruise ship these days, much less a big doll made of silicone and steel. In fact, Hugo would no doubt regard ease of disposal as one more superior trait she'd have over a living wife, along with unflagging sexual readiness, exemplary personal hygiene through occasional application of inexpensive household solvents, perpetual youth without special diets, bloating, or weight gain, capped off with the rarest of female virtues, long-suffering patience and the tireless ability to listen. Inspector, I admit, we sailed out to sea and I shoved my lovely wife over the side. Lieutenant Gaston Camembert, veteran of the gendarmerie for more than 30 years, who counted himself a contentedly married man, would scarcely approve. But he would understand. Such crimes of passion do happen, tant pis. Now, this would be a different case. Inspector, I admit, we sailed out to sea and I sent my life-size sex toy to the bottom. Whatever the inspector's opinions about men of a certain age who covet their toys, Camembert would certainly not understand. You might as well tell him you drove your shiny new Ferrari off the end of the dock. I'm afraid I must cite you for unauthorized waste disposal at sea, monsieur. But so much cheaper than a divorce, n'est-ce pas? Thank you.